Welcome to the world of rare disease, a show that focuses on awareness and education about rare and complex disorders. My name is Lisa Deck, and I am a Rare New England board member, a rare disease patient, and your host for today's show. Today, our show features Teresa Wright-Johnson, a vibrant woman who has endured multiple open heart surgeries and cardiac procedures and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in November of 2014. She is a chronic illness warrior who knows and lives her life's calling. Today, she's going to talk to us about that. So happy to have you here today. And I'm sorry that you've gone through so many health challenges, but I know that you are a warrior. So I'd love for you to start at the beginning.
Right. Yes. Thank you for having me, first and foremost, and allowing me to come on your platform. And please, I appreciate the sentiment, but don't be sorry. Sometimes we are charged with different things in life, and certain illnesses come, and they're not easy. This was very hard. It was difficult, but I've learned so much. I've learned so much about myself. I appreciate my life. I appreciate and I'm grateful for my family. And this journey has led me to meet some pretty incredible people, such as yourself and so many others. So yeah, I just don't look at my situation from a perspective of sympathy. I just look at it from this is what you have. This is the work that you have set out to do. And this is the work you were designed to do. And that is, I think, how I manage and I adjust and I envision my life.
I love that. Thank you for pointing that out because I think it is a sentiment I share, but yet I do find myself saying that to people. It's a reaction. So when did your health battle, I guess we could say, begin?
From birth, actually. I was born with a heart murmur, and they knew that there was another condition at the time, from what my parents told me. They didn't know exactly what it was. So, my parents took me back and forth to the cardiologist, and they had so many tests that they did and different workups. And I was diagnosed with an aortic heart valve defect. So back then, heart valve disease and the trajectory of life for congenital heart disease patients didn't look like it looks now. And back then, I'm sure my parents didn't know what to expect. But that's where my journey began. It began at birth. So literally, um, all I knew and what I had to grow with was chronic illness and having this illness that had to be managed, that had to be, I had to take more care with my body, and I had to be vigilant. My parents were vigilant, and when it was time for me to take over for my own life, then I had to be very vigilant about my care. So this has been my life literally since I've come here.
Right, right. So you have had a lifetime of a complex health story. And as you were growing up, obviously there was multiple surgeries or procedures you were dealing with. Um, how was that when you were a child? That had to be difficult figuring out, how to have these major life changes while trying to be a child.
It was, and let me be very clear. Growing up with illness you feel different. I felt different. And, when there were certain activities that my friends could participate in and I couldn't, again, you feel so different. And I think what I've learned or what I grew up learning, because what my parents did, they set the foundation that, listen, you may not be able to do this, but we can do this. And what they did is they created an environment around me where we focused on not what I couldn't do, but what I could do. So I had that support at home, but you still have to go out into the world and you have to learn to adjust to your social situations. And it was difficult, it was difficult. And as I grew up, and as I became an adult, I realize now that being different was not the awful truth that I thought it was. That, that being different, it allowed me to embrace my body. It allowed me to take better care of myself. And it just prepared me for this journey now. And trust me, that was continuous. That didn't just occur. And I mean, back to your question, I could remember when I had to have my first open heart surgery. I was 13. And, I was in the midst of, you know, it was in February, so I was still in school. And, we talk about you're in the middle of adolescence, you have all the hormones. And I just remember, and I said, what? And it was the scariest time of my life because I didn't know what to expect. But this is what I also remember. I remember my parents telling me I'm going to be okay. I remember feeling in my heart that I was going to be okay. And I remember my family and my community, my church members, telling me that I'm going to be okay. So on this particular day, as I'm riding on the stretcher to go into surgery, I had my parents each on both sides and they were holding my hands. And, my mother was crying and my father, they were holding on with like, oof, with the jaws of life. And I looked up and I said to them, don't worry, I'm going to be okay. And that was at 13 years old. So I think there was a part of me that always knew I would be okay. It was painful. The process was arduous. And there were times where I didn't understand. Because as a child, how can you? But again, now that I look back, I can see how everything that I encountered then prepared me to be the woman, the person, the advocate that I am now.
I love that. It's so profound what you're saying. I mean, to think that little did you know that you had received all that strength and, support of your parents and your family, that in that moment when they needed it from you, you were able to give it to them. And I think that's beautiful. And, I know people often say when it comes to rare disease or chronic illness, that a lot of times children tend to grow up quicker. But I do feel like there is that insight, there is that, kind of understanding of the world that happens. And when I look at you, I see that. I mean, you know, have this inner strength and beauty. And I do believe that it's probably been growing all these years that you have faced adversity, but figured out ways to do it. And you mentioned them, but when you talk about the positives, I mean, you just mentioned family and faith and knowing your body and knowing yourself. But through it all, what are some of the other positives that you have come to find? And I know you speak often, so I know that this is probably some of the things you think about, but I would love for you to tell our viewers because I think it's really impactful to hear.
So I think the first thing I have to mention is great medical care. Having two parents who advocated on my behalf and taught me how to do that for myself just by their very example. So now in this space, I am allowed to do that, not only for myself, but for others. So that's one of the positives. Another one of the positives is I could remember after that first open heart surgery and the scar, you know, I remember I cry some days and I break down and I just wanted it to go away. And, you know, why do I have to have this? And I look at this scar now. And again, you know, my mother said to me, that scar is your badge of honor. If it weren't for it, you wouldn't be here. And I remember that. So again, another one of the positives are I don't take my life for granted. I know that I am supposed to be here. And I don't think that that spirit or that indomitable will or that fire would burn so bright had I not gone through these things early on in life. So, and then again, the positives are the connections that I've made, the work that, you know, I've been designed and blessed to do. My compassion for humanity and the diversity of the life experiences that I've had, both personally and professionally, that allow me to elevate mankind in my own way. So I that's what my positives would be.
Wow, I love it. That is powerful and so true. And I feel so similar to you, being, you know, in a similar place. Of course, we all have our own way of doing it, but it's awesome to kind of hear you say all of those things. And I think you are clearly a half glass full person, but let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges because as much as, you know, look at you, you have come so far. Your health is
Right.
stable to an extent today, but what's one time or what's one of the things that you look at and you wish hadn't happened or wish it again, not hadn't because it makes you who you are today, but what are some of the frustrations and challenges you've had with this long-term illness?
So some of the challenges that I have, continue to have, is, you know, when you have a chronic illness, you have to manage it. Like it's still there. Every day is different. And we didn't talk about this, but in 2014, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that diagnosis, you know, it again knocked the wind out of me because I had no idea what to expect. And my challenges every day, from an injury, a permanent injury I incurred. I live with chronic pain. I have chronic pain from multiple sclerosis. I have chronic fatigue. Like, I manage all of these things daily. So let me say this. I do not want to paint the picture that chronic illness is a breeze, because it is not. It is difficult. It demands its space. And when I say it demands its space, we can have all the plans in the world. We can have, we can set all of the intentions. When your body says, no, not today, it clearly means no, not today. So don't let me, I'm not painting this picture that, chronic illness is beautiful, because it is, and it's difficult. And it challenges me daily. And there are some days that the class isn't half full. There are some days that the glass is almost empty. But what I have managed to do, and what I'm trying to do now, as life takes me in different places, is manage my own self-care in the best way that I can. Because there are moments where you feel depleted, because on top of chronic illness, you're dealing with life in itself. But again, a strong support system helps. I have a great husband who understands the complexities of my illness. Support, with other people, other chronic illness advocates and people who understand. And, communities of support are important. But yes, it's challenging every day. And those are some of my challenges. And also, I'm very strong-willed. So, I used to believe that it was mind over matter. And I'm discovering
That's a hard lesson to learn.
that in itself is a fallacy. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to take the time you need and allow your body to recover. So that's what I'm learning.
Right. And those lessons, they just keep coming, don't they? I think as and that happens in life. So it's with everybody, but I do find sometimes I laugh because mind over matter, I had that for a long time. And finally it was like, okay. And your body is finally telling you, okay, it is not.
Right.
That's funny. So let's take a glimpse into some of the professional work you're doing now. And we're going to do a different episode that really dives into the details of some of that work. But maybe just an overview of where has all of this led you? Like, what do you do now?
I'll tell you a story. When I retired from my job, I was injured. I was in a lot of pain. And I said, okay, what now? What next? And I remember my husband said, you are so powerful. You have so much to say. Start sharing this. And I said, well, I already share it. I talk to people. And so anyway, I got active with my local American Heart Association. And I was on the Go Red for Women committee. And they asked me to do an open your heart address. And I remember I did it. And, I like to speak organically. Like, I like to come across as authentic. So, I just jotted some things down about what I wanted to say and where I wanted to go. And I will never forget this, because 3 days before that event, I had to go to my cardiologist. And I found out that I needed an intervention, a surgical intervention. And I said, to my husband, how am I going to stand in front of all of these people when I just got this news? I can't do it. And I remember he said to me, yes, you can, and you will, because you have to. So, I said, okay, I'm just going to go on as planned, and I'm not going to mention this. And Lisa, I'm telling you, I stood up there and I looked at everyone and I said, Teresa, if you are going to share, you have to share it all. And I did. And I just remember after the event, I remember people coming to me, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. And that's when I really realized how powerful stories are and how powerful human connection is. So by sharing my story of survival, which is what I call it, sometimes you encourage, right? And sometimes your life is also a cautionary tale. Because I'm sure there were women in there at that time that needed to go for a wellness check, but didn't, that had this feeling and didn't know what it was and didn't want to go see about it. So you never know when you may be the intervention for someone else. So, that is what started me on this advocacy platform, in the professional perspective. And then from that, so many other opportunities arose. And when I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which was after that, I said, you know what? I'm going to fight this illness in the same manner that I've lived with heart disease. And I'm going to share this too. Because by sharing, I not only empower others, but I empower myself.
Absolutely. So true. I mean, so well said. And it's interesting because in the introduction, I said that we get to meet you and you're living your life's purpose. And I think that describes you to a T. You really are embracing all that you've gone through and not only helping others, but helping yourself while you do it. And we are so lucky to be able to talk to you today. I just want to wrap up. So if somebody wants to learn more about you, where should they go? Where should they find information about you?
I have a personal website. It's www.teresawrightjohnson.com. I'm there. Some of my writings are. I write for multiple outlets, which we can talk about, I guess on your next show. And again, I'm affiliated with multiple organizations. Like I said, the Heart Association being one, US Heart Valve Voice, I Conquer MS, my local branch of the NAACP. And just so many other organizations. I just want to give back
And what
my
would
life.
I'm sorry, I took that
No,
pause. Keep going.
no, you go.
I just wanted to say, what would your final advice or final words for people watching this be as you talk about your illness and your life's purpose, and what is your message to everybody?
My message to everyone is to never lose hope. Hope is powerful. Hope allows us the grace to get from one day into the next, sometimes one moment to the next. And if we can make it there, you don't know what tomorrow or the next moment may hold. So I just like to say to anyone who has chronic illness, has adversity, just is going through a really tough time in your life, know that you are here for a reason. Know that you are never alone, because so many people are experiencing or have experienced what you are going through. And there's no harm in reaching out for help. So just hold on. That's my message.
That is a powerful, awesome message. With that, we are going to be wrapping up. And I just want to say again, thank you for being here. The wisdom, the passion, the strength you have shines from you. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you again for having me. This was amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Before closing, we provide our viewers with an opportunity to share comments and questions from prior shows. This is considered Rare New England in Motion, and it's a perfect way to expand upon our mission of engaging with our community. If you have questions or input for our shows, please send us a message at info@rarenewengland.org. We would love to share your responses and have your input for our shows. Thank you again, Teresa, for being here. We loved having you. From all of us at Rare New England and all the patients and families that keep rare disease in motion, thank you for watching. And remember, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, and then think zebras. Thank you.